All right, folks, let's hear it up once again for Tim Eulinger. Come on, guys, give it a round of applause. Who's here for the first time this year at Ambition? Well, here's what I'm going to tell you honestly. I can't take off my hat because I don't wear one because I'm from up north. But here's my version of up north. How you doing, y'all? But here's the truth. If I had a hat, I'd take it off. I congratulate you on making this important decision to be at this event. We haven't even started yet, but this is going to be the event of your life. And I congratulate all of you for coming to this event. So give yourself a round of applause. Folks, my story is very simple with Ambit Energy. We were introduced back in October of 2007. Up until that time, I was involved in the real estate industry in New York, where I started that business about 11 years prior to that. And with the whole market changing back in 2007, we were trying to figure out, my wife and I, what are we going to keep on doing to keep on generating income with the whole shift that was changing in the real estate industry. And we weren't looking for any other opportunity, but somebody came up to me randomly on the street. Now, I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. He came up to me randomly on the street. I knew him from the community. He came up to me and asked me, who do I pay my electric bill to, and if I want to pay less for it. Now, this is New York, and when somebody asks you a question like that, you want to turn around and run. It's an obvious question. We only have one company over there, but I was courtesy. I took a flyer, a black and white folded up flyer. On this flyer, it simply said, stop paying too much for energy. That was the flyer that we have in our back office in the Power Zone. A couple weeks later, came across this flyer. There was the Energy 526 website on the bottom of it. Went online to watch the video. A little after midnight, late October of 2007, I called him up. I asked him if this was for real. I told him I had some questions. He invited me down to a live business presentation. Folks, we joined on November 1st of 2007, very part-time, about 3 to 4 hours a week. Fast forward 8 months, when we realized the potential with Ambit, and we were just shy of promoting to executive consultant, my wife and I decided to completely disconnect from our real estate business and left New York for Ambition 2008 as a senior consultant, got to Dallas, and about 3 hours later promoted to executive consultant. And ever since then, it's been totally full-time for us. Appreciate that. And then just went after it and just followed the system that we're teaching you here today and just never looked back. And about 3 weeks ago, reached that chapter and promoted it to the national consultant level. Just about 5 years in. So that why that Bobby spoke about before, we had that written down. I'm going to tell you right now, we also did not have that vision board originally. We have it now. We actually have probably about 5 or 6 of them spread out throughout the house to make sure that we know exactly what we're doing in this business. But folks, what you just heard before about the written list, the why, okay, now we have to take that written list of names and we have to start getting people to take a look at the opportunity. Now, what I'm about to share with you here is the most crucial part about this entire business. It's the invitation. And I want to make sure that you understand that you cannot confuse the invitation with the presentation. Your goal is not to give the presentation. How many of you here, most of you are marketing consultants, all of you are marketing consultants, but is there anybody in the room here that feels that they know this business presentation by heart, that they can give it one-on-one at this point? Good. If you did raise your hand, and I can give it in my sleep. I actually wake up in the middle of the night a couple times. My wife pushes my head down on the pillow, starts speaking it out. But the truth is, your goal is not to present the opportunity. That's the system. Your goal is simply to invite. Do not confuse the presentation with the invitation. We have the funnel. Okay, we have our prospects. We have that written list of names. We have to start funneling them through, getting them to take a look at the opportunity. We have to invite them. And I'm going to tell you right now, 4 years and 9 months later, the 3 questions that I'm about to share with you, this is the method to get somebody to take a look at the presentation. This is what we still do to this day, okay? Do not try to explain the business to people. Your goal is to invite them to take a look. Ask them 3 simple questions. Now, before we hop into the first question, I'll start off, and if you're taking notes, I'll tell you that I usually approach people and I might ask them a question of, do you know anything about energy deregulation? Are you familiar with anything that's going on with the deregulation of the energy industry? Okay? Now, I want to warn you, or give you a quick tip. If you meet somebody randomly on the street, don't tackle them and say, hey, Bobby, Do you know anything about energy deregulation? You can't just stop a stranger in the middle of the street. I tried that in New York. I needed actually Tim to protect me as a police officer. It doesn't work. Folks, you have to develop a relationship with that individual. It might not happen the first time around. Exchange some information with each other, some contact information, and then, maybe 1 or 2 phone calls later, or next time you meet them at the soccer game, or next time you meet them at the mall when you go shopping with your wife, or next time you meet them, at the car wash, whatever it might be, then re-engage with them and start talking to them about the opportunity, hear a little bit what they're looking for as well. But folks, once you've established if they know anything or not about energy deregulation, and most people will say, no, not really, what's it all about? That's the first question that you're going to ask them. So I'm going to turn to Tim. He was up here, and I'll say, Tim, let me ask you a question. I know it sounds silly, but answer this for me. How many people do you know who use electricity or natural gas in their home? Now, it depends on the market. So in most markets, we have electricity and natural gas. If it's just electricity here in Texas, how many people do you know who have electricity in their house? Now, you got to be careful, because there are some people that are going to turn around and say, well, about 80 or 90. Now, they're the smart ones, because you ask them, how many people do you know? But they got confused with the question. The question is, well, how many people overall use electricity in their house? How many of you have electricity in your house? Can you raise your hand? Okay, good. It's weird. Some people didn't raise their hand. They get it from the neighbor. But the point is, you guys have that here also? But the truth is, he'll answer and he'll say, well, okay, everybody does. Well, what are you getting at? Well, look, let me ask you another question. How many of them do you think would rather pay less for that service, or potentially even get it for free? Okay, I mean, you're getting me over here. What does that mean, get it for free? Well, let me ask you a question. If we can go out there, okay, and we can promote that concept and show people how to get their electricity or gas either for cheaper or for free, how would you like to earn bonuses of potentially thousands of dollars just by simply referring people to that program? Okay? Now, I'll tell you that third question that you see up on the board, I tweak it around a little bit. So if we're talking about, for instance, TXU that we have here in Dallas, so I'll ask Tim that question. I'll say, Tim, let me ask you a question. Would you agree with me that TXU makes money? How many of you agree that TXU makes money? Can you raise your hand? So my question to Tim would be, well, why not you and I? And he's going to turn around and say, well, what does that mean? I mean, is that legal? Can we do that? How do we make money? Well, Tim, I'm glad you asked, but look, I really can't explain it. It's 99% visual, okay? Let me tweak another third question, okay? If we have that second question of how many of them would rather get it, would like to save money in their electricity bill, or possibly even get it for free, and he'll say, well, okay, obviously everybody. Well, let me ask you a question. If you can go out there and I can help you get your electricity for free in your house, how many other people do you know that would want to actually get their electricity for free as well? And they'll say, well, everybody that I know. Well, how would you like to get paid every single month when people pay their bills just because you're showing them how to get their electricity for free? Folks, you can tweak it around a little bit, but I want you to follow those 3 basic questions. How many people do you know that have electricity or natural gas in their house? How many of them do you think would rather pay less or potentially get it for free? And if we can show people how to pay less for their electric and gas bill, or even get it for free, how would you like to earn money by doing exactly that and promoting people to that program? It's simple. And then you'll work your way into the actual invitation of getting them to take a look at the presentation. Well, how do I do that? Well, it's 99% visual. Folks, I have an opportunity for you to come take a look at a video online. I have an opportunity for you to come out to a live business presentation. I really can't explain it. Lead them out. But here's what I will tell you. Yesterday, as you all know, we released 21 custom covers by Success from Home magazine. 21 custom covers by Success from Home magazine, folks. The most custom covers that any network marketing in history has ever had in a company. Now, I want to tell you that the first time that we were fortunate to be on the front cover of Success from Home magazine, and we started throwing a little bit on Facebook and talking to some friends about it, and they kind of really didn't believe it. Then they saw it and they said, well, it's an in-house publication. Folks, I want to make sure that you understand that Success from Home magazine is a nationally circulated publication. It is not an in-house Ambit magazine. We didn't go out there looking for companies that want to feature us. There were publications that are looking to feature Ambit. Folks, 21 custom covers, over 189 consultants featured on all of those covers. But here's the most amazing thing about the magazine itself, the credibility that we have with everything that's inside. This is your one-stop shop for giving the invitation to everybody that's out there. There were pallets over there. And honestly, if I lived in Texas, I'd probably have a tow truck regardless. I'd have a big truck. I would actually fill a pallet, a full pallet in my car, because that's what we have to do. Folks, my wife's car, which is a minivan, has at least 2 or 3 boxes. Each box has at least 100 magazines inside because we're giving them out constantly. Okay? I don't leave the house without magazines. The bags, I flew down here. I didn't have the new magazines yet. I still had last year's magazines. They were given out on the airplane regardless. Okay? But here's what I will tell you. The credibility of this magazine, because it is a nationally circulated magazine. You know, and the funny thing about this is that even though last year we were on the front cover, the year before, we still, the friends that told us that, you know, it's one of those things and it's not going to work, now they changed their phrase to, okay, so you're on the magazine, you were just lucky. We still have people that tell us that one day something's going to happen to us because we're doing something and we got ourselves on the front cover of a magazine, whatever it might be. But here's what I want you to understand. The profiles that are inside here, I was looking at the numbers. There are 189 consultants on all of the covers, okay? Inside the magazine, there are 53 stories of consultants from all across spectrums of every professional that you can think of, okay? If you're talking to a potential consultant about this business and they start hyperventilating and, you know, they're not grasping the magnitude of this opportunity, all you need to do is get them on the phone with Dr. David Yardley. He's a cardiologist. He'll calm their heart down, okay? If you're talking to somebody who coaches basketball, or any coach for that matter in any industry, okay, have them read up executive consultant Alan Johnston's profile, okay? If you're talking to a police officer, somebody who's in the landscaping business, somebody who grows maple trees. In the city, I know that we're weird, but upstate there, I don't know what they do upstate. No, but the truth is, you just heard him, E.C. Tim Ollinger, okay? School teacher, executive consultant Adriana Adams. Nurse, Debbie Roy Atkinson. Folks, the youngest executive consultant, I believe, is 20. The oldest, I believe, is 70, 71. I can't see most of you because I have these lights in my eyes, but from what I'm seeing, most of you are in between those ages. And it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. There's a senior consultant who's attending this ambition, and he just graduated high school 3 months ago. I mean, credibility about this, Zig Ziglar, the master of motivation and leadership, featured in Success from Home magazine. John Maxwell talking about leadership. Zig Ziglar talking about, you know, achieving your dreams. I mean, folks, Chris and Jerry talking about the history of Ambit, how it's developed and what it's up to. Folks, you cannot leave your house without the Success from Home magazine. Read this magazine throughout the entire weekend. Read it on the plane back. Read it in the car while Tim is chasing you down the highway. No, the truth is, know what's inside here. You have to know every single one of these stories because there is a story for everybody to relate to. You cannot leave your house, your office, whatever it is without this. Buy them in the store. Make sure to get on auto ship. This is the single most important invitation tool that you can. Here's one suggestion that I would give you. Go to the local Staples or Michael's, whatever you have, those little stickers that you can put on the bottom over here. Print them out in your printer. Put your name, your title, your phone number, your email address. Make sure that when this, is left somewhere, the statistics are that this magazine, before it ends up totally getting crumbled up, ends up going between 4 different hands, okay? Eventually, you'll end up finding it in somebody else's house. When you go to prospect them, you'll see that they already have the magazine. Folks, this works. One more quick story about that, and with that, I'm going to end because I see that they're flashing me really fast with the light over here. One of our consultants now, who's just about to become a senior consultant, walked into the Barnes & Noble about a year ago and was looking at Success magazine, but Success from Home is right before Success magazine in the newsstands, and he picked up Success from Home, was reading a little bit through it, was reading the story about the launch of Ambit into Maryland and was looking for some stories that he can relate to, found our story about being in the real estate industry, called us up, went out there and started a huge business in Maryland, just from going into the Barnes & Noble store and finding the Success from Home magazine over there. Folks, you never know where it's going to come from. You got to know who's in this magazine. You got to know how to relate it. Every single one of you has a story inside here that you can relate to. Folks, make sure to master the invitation. Make sure not to confuse it with the presentation. Get people to take a look at the opportunity. Do not explain it to them. Become a master inviter, and you will become extremely successful in your Ambit business. Folks, God bless you all. You're going to have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for being out here today. God bless you all. So this next speaker, I had the privilege and honor of being on last year's Success from Home cover with him. I refer to him as Farm Boy just because he lives up in Albany, which is in upstate New York, and all I know of is tractors and big wide fields. But the truth is that he was in the jewelry industry, and he owned a bunch of jewelry stores, and he understood what this business is all about because of his past history, understanding what deregulation means. I had a chance to spend a couple of the 5-star trips with him. He's been a top 30 money earner, and the biggest achievement, I mean, just an all-out super guy. He's a great friend. We chat a lot on the phone. We have worked together endless times at business presentations. He's a super, super guy, great father, great husband. And last year, he was the recipient of the 2011 Crystal Sphere Award. Please stand to your feet and welcome from Albany, New York, executive consultant, Mr. Greg Hensel.